And welcome once again to Flashpoints. I'm Bob Orr. Joining me, Juan Zarate. He's our national security analyst. Juan, good to see you.
Bob, great to see you.
Let's talk about the Muslim Brotherhood. When Mubarak was deposed in Egypt, they held an election. The Muslim Brotherhood had a candidate, won the election. All of a sudden, this was a party, long-standing party, that seemed to have political relevance and standing. What's happened since then?
Well, the Muslim Brotherhood came out of the shadows, assumed political power. President Morsi was running the Egyptian government. In many ways, fell out of favor with the Egyptian populace. There was a sense that they were gaining more and more power over time in a nefarious way. And what you had was the military come in and take over. And what was interesting with this, Bob, and as this unfolds, very interesting to watch, is that the Muslim Brotherhood was not only deposed, but now they are being outlawed and being convicted and being pulled into the shadows again.
In large numbers.
In large numbers. And so what you've had is the real suppression of the Muslim Brotherhood as a movement. Its assets frozen. It's been made illegal. It's been labeled as a terrorist organization. And most recently, 529 of its members sentenced to death by the Egyptian courts. And what's interesting here is this demonstrates sort of the maximalist nature of what the military power, in conjunction with the judiciary, is willing to do to go after the Muslim Brotherhood and to suppress it. In the minds of the leadership now in Egypt, the military leadership, in particular General Sisi, who's now going to run for president, the Muslim Brotherhood is a terrorist organization. They were trying to undermine the Egyptian state. They were engaged in all sorts of illegal acts and have been behind a lot of the terrorist activity that you've seen throughout Egypt. In the minds of others, the Muslim Brotherhood backers, this is the suppression of a legitimate political movement that has been toppled as part of a coup d'etat, and what you see is the suppression, like you've seen in the past, of the Muslim Brotherhood.
The Muslim Brotherhood's been around a long time, and it's not just in Egypt, and I don't think there is agreement as to whether or not they're a quote-unquote terrorist organization. Some people say they're a legitimate political party, but what's happening in Egypt has reached beyond there.
Absolutely, and what you've seen, Bob, is this debate unfold, and in particular from the Gulf states, countries like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, even countries like Bahrain, a sense that the Muslim Brotherhood needs to be contained, is a force of instability in the region, in Egypt in particular, and frankly needs to be banned. And so you've seen this movement, not just in Egypt, but in the Gulf states, to actually outlaw and ban membership in the Muslim Brotherhood, to take steps against members as well as their assets, and a real kind of movement gaining momentum to suppress the Muslim Brotherhood. As you mentioned, not just in Egypt, but where they exist throughout the region. And the Muslim Brotherhood is a powerful group. They've been in existence since the late 1920s and have built up a political organ and charitable organizations over time, with wings like Hamas in the Palestinian territory. So this is a real movement with membership around the Middle East. And so we'll just have to see if this repression actually works. But what we see in Egypt is a real attempt by the current military government to suppress the Brotherhood.
But it's very, very tough to suppress or eradicate an idea or an ideology. So my question is, what happens to the true believers? What happens to the true Muslim Brotherhood believers if they feel oppressed? I mean, where do they go? Do they become more radical? Do they seek refuge or affiliation with some more radical groups?
It's a great question, because the question is long-term, what happens to not only the ideas but the movement and the members who are part of this, and does this in some ways radicalize them? Does this move some of the members, especially the younger members, into the hands of terrorist organizations, those who said, look, political processes, nonviolent elections, etc., won't get you the change you need. You have to engage in violent jihad, etc. Right. So does it move some of those members there? Maybe. What happens to the ideas of political Islam itself, which needs voice in some of these countries? What form does that take if it's not the Muslim Brotherhood? What else is there? And does that move people into the hands of, for example, the Noor party, the Salafi parties, a bit more conservative, more extreme? So these are questions that are unanswered. But the frontline issue for the Egyptian government now is a suppression of this group. They're going to deal with the consequences later because they see the Muslim Brotherhood as a threat to the very state of Egypt and the state of stability. And you see that echoed throughout the Arabian Gulf in statements by the Saudi government and the UAE government.
Very interesting. Again, another one we have to keep an eye on.
Absolutely.
Juan, thanks.
Thank you, Bob.
And thanks to you for watching Flashpoints. I'm Bob Orr. We will see you next time.